Welcome to Music for JSS 2, third term. Today we study the history of music, how music has developed from ancient times to the present day, with particular reference to Africa and Nigeria. Why study music history? Understanding where music came from helps you understand why music sounds the way it does today. Modern Afrobeats, Juju, and highlife did not appear from nowhere. They evolved from centuries of tradition, contact between cultures, and creative innovation. Music history is also the history of human culture. Ancient music, prehistoric and early civilizations. The oldest musical instruments ever found are bone flutes over 40,000 years old, discovered in Europe. However, archaeologists believe music is even older. Rhythmic clapping, singing, and percussion using stones, wood, and found objects almost certainly preceded the creation of dedicated instruments. In ancient Africa, music was central to daily and spiritual life long before written records existed. Ancient Egyptian civilizations, from around 3000 BC, had professional musicians, harps, lyres, lutes, drums, flutes, and sistrum rattles. The sistrum is a rattle-like instrument still used in Ethiopian Orthodox Christian ceremonies. Ancient Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria, had complex musical traditions. Ancient Greece developed early music theory. Pythagoras, 6th century BC, described the mathematical relationships between musical pitches, the basis of the Western scale system. The ancient Chinese and Indian civilizations had highly developed musical systems. Medieval music, 500 to 1400 AD. In Europe, the medieval period was dominated by the Catholic Church, and most surviving music is religious. Gregorian chant, plain chant, was the predominant vocal style, unaccompanied single-line melodies sung by monks in Latin. It is named after Pope Gregory I, 590 to 604 AD, who is traditionally credited with organizing the collection. Troubadours and trouvères were medieval secular, non-religious, poets and musicians from France who performed love songs and epic tales. In Africa during this period, the ancient Mali Empire and Songhai Empire, 900 to 1600 AD, had highly developed musical cultures. The griot in West Africa, or Morocco/Maroke, in Hausa culture, tradition was established as a hereditary caste of professional musician historians who preserved oral history through song. The Kingdom of Great Zimbabwe and later Great Benin had court music traditions. The Islamic world, including North Africa and the Sahara, was a major center of musical learning. Arab scholars preserved Greek music theory and developed it further. Renaissance music, 1400 to 1600 AD. The Renaissance, rebirth, was a period of cultural flowering in Europe. Music became more complex, polyphony, multiple independent melodic lines sounding simultaneously, developed. Printing technology, Gutenberg's press, 1450s, allowed music to be printed and distributed for the first time. Secular music, songs, dances, became as important as religious music. Major composers, Josquin des Prez, Palestrina, William Byrd. Baroque music, 1600 to 1750. The Baroque period is characterized by elaborate ornamentation, dramatic contrast, and the rise of opera and the orchestra. Key composers, Johann Sebastian Bach, 1685 to 1750, considered the master of counterpoint, German, well-tempered clavier, St. Matthew Passion, Brandenburg concertos, Antonio Vivaldi, 1678 to 1741, Italian, The Four Seasons, George Friedrich Handel, 1685 to 1759, German-British, Messiah, Alleluia chorus still performed worldwide. Contact between Europe and Africa increased during the Baroque period through the Atlantic trade. African music and dance began influencing music in the Americas, the seeds of jazz, blues, and soul. Classical music, 1750 to 1820. The classical period emphasized clarity, balance, and formal structure. The symphony, string quartet, and sonata reached maturity. Key composers, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1791, Austrian, composed from age 5, symphonies, operas, piano concertos, Ludwig van Beethoven, 1770 to 1827, German, bridged classical and romantic periods, composed most of his greatest works while deaf, Franz Joseph Haydn, 1732 to 1809, father of the symphony. Romantic music, 1820 to 1900. The Romantic period prioritized emotional expression, nationalism, composers using folk music from their own countries, and orchestra expansion. Key composers: Frédéric Chopin, 1810 to 1849, Polish, piano music; Richard Wagner, 1813 to 1883, German, opera, Ring Cycle; Pyotr Tchaikovsky, 1840 to 1893, Russian, Swan Lake, Nutcracker, 1812 overture; Johannes Brahms, 1833 to 1897, German, symphonies. In Africa, this was also the period of European colonialism. Colonial power suppressed some African musical practices, but African music survived and continued to evolve in African and diaspora contexts. Modern and contemporary music, 1900-present. 20th century Western classical music. Modernism broke many traditional rules: atonality, music without a home key, minimalism, electronic music. Key composers: Igor Stravinsky, The Rite of Spring, 1913 caused a riot at its premiere; Arnold Schoenberg, invented 12-tone technique; Philip Glass, minimalism. Popular music in the 20th century. Jazz arose from African American culture in New Orleans c. 1900, deeply rooted in African rhythmic traditions. Blues, African American, Mississippi Delta, 1900s, 1930s, rock and roll, 1950s, Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, soul and R&B, 1950s, 1970s, James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, reggae, Jamaica, 1960s, 70s, Bob Marley, hip-hop, New York, 1970s, now global. All these genres trace back to African musical roots. African music history timeline. Pre-colonial period, complex musical traditions across all African ethnic groups, griots, West Africa, royal court music, religious/ceremonial music, work songs, initiation music. Colonial period, late 19th C, mid-20th C. European missionaries introduced Western choral music plus hymns. Contact with jazz, ragtime, and blues through records and returning migrants shaped new African genres. High life, Ghana 1920s, Marabi, South Africa. Post-independence, 1960s, 70s Afrobeat, Fela Kuti, Juju, King Sunny Ode, Congolese rumba, South African bakanga. Contemporary, 1980s, present Afrobeats, Omopiano, South Africa, Afropop, global fusion. Remember, music history equals history of human culture. Ancient, 40,000-year-old bone flutes. Ancient Egypt equals harps plus lyres plus lutes plus drums plus sistrum, 3000 BC, Pythagoras, 60 BC, equals mathematical relationships between pitches equals basis of Western scale. Medieval, Gregorian chant, Pope Gregory I 590 to 604 AD, unaccompanied single-line Latin melodies, plus troubadours, secular love songs. Africa equals Mali Empire plus griot/Morocco tradition established as hereditary musician historians. Renaissance, polyphony plus printing press, Gutenberg 1450s, equals music distributed for first time. Baroque, 1600 to 1750 Bach, 1685 to 1750, counterpoint master, Wet-tempered clavier plus St. Matthew Passion plus Brandenburg concertos, plus Vivaldi, Four Seasons, plus Handel, Messiah plus Hallelujah chorus worldwide, contact Europe. Africa equals seeds of jazz plus blues plus soul. Classical, 1750 to 1820 Mozart, 1756 to 1791, composed from age 5. Plus Beethoven, 1770 to 1827, bridged classical romantic, composed greatest works while deaf. Plus Haydn, father of symphony. Romantic, 1820 to 1900 Chopin plus Wagner plus Tchaikovsky, Swan Lake plus Nutcracker plus 1812 Overture, plus Brahms, colonialism suppressed some African music but African music survived plus evolved. Modern, 1900 present jazz, New Orleans C. 1900, African American roots, plus blues plus rock plus soul plus reggae, Bob Marley, plus hip-hop equals all trace back to African roots. African timeline, pre-colonial, griots plus royal courts, colonial, Western choral plus hymns plus highlife Ghana 1920s, independence, Fela Kuti Afrobeat plus KSA Juju, contemporary, Afrobeats plus Amapiano plus global. Thank you for studying music with us today.